Hi, welcome to the Crypto Republic. Before we begin today, if you're serious about staying ahead in this once-in-a-lifetime financial shift, make sure you like this video, drop a comment, and subscribe to the Crypto Republic. Hello, XRP Army, and welcome back to the Crypto Republic, your go-to channel for the latest high-energy updates in digital assets. Before we get started with today's business, make sure to smash that like button, ring that bell, and subscribe to the Crypto Republic, bringing you updates every day at 9 a.m., noon, and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Ladies and gentlemen, today we need to talk about something unfolding in real time, something that could catch the entire crypto market off guard, and XRP holders especially. A potential Black Swan signal is flashing across several liquidity indicators, and whether you're a trader, a long-term investor, or someone just trying to understand what the heck is happening, you absolutely need to hear this. In this video, we're going to break it all down step by step. What this Black Swan signal actually is, how close it might be to triggering, what it could mean specifically for XRP, and why the market reaction might unfold the way most people think. Just a reminder, this video is for educational purposes only. This is not financial advice. Always do your own research before making any investment decisions. As always, thank you so much for supporting this channel. Every like, every comment, every share, every new subscriber, it generally helps the video reach more XRP holders who need this information. All right, let's break it down. The strange warning no one wants to talk about. Before we break into the big macro threat, I want to start with something a little funny, because honestly, the crypto space gives us comedy gold every single week. So earlier this week, a well-known Bitcoin maxi posted a victory lap about a major new U.S. institutional platform launching a regulated digital asset settlement layer. And of course, he wrote the famous two words, probably nothing, right? Because apparently everything is bullish for Bitcoin until they realize XRP is involved somewhere in the mix. Well, here's the punchline, ladies and gentlemen. A few hours later, people started digging into the details, and guess what? This shiny new institutional platform, the one Bitcoin maxis were celebrating, is directly connected to companies and partnerships that have deep relationships with Ripple. In fact, Bitnomo, one of the companies heavily invested in Ripple, has Brad Garlinghouse on its board of directors, and market analysis suggests XRP could integrate it as a liquidity asset. Suddenly, the maxi silence was deafening. This community cracks me up. They'll praise anything until they realize XRP is the plumbing underneath it. But this ties directly in today's topic, ladies and gentlemen, because what we're seeing behind the scenes is the institutions are preparing for extreme liquidity stress across multiple markets. And XRP's role in that process puts it at the center of something much bigger, which brings us to the real story today. Ladies and gentlemen, when I started my career, I was 15 years old on the floor of the New York Mercantile Exchange. I had family in the upper echelons of the Merc itself, so I went to work for the Mercantile Exchange. And I learned so much that I'm going to be sharing with everyone as we go through videos going there. What I learned was unbelievable. You never throw mud on anybody, right? But I learned that finance is like a financial combat arena. Every day when that bell rings, things are going to change and the prices are going to go up and down. But I want to talk about a subject real fast that no one's paying attention to. Maybe you are, maybe you're not. And we'll go further this in other videos. The BRICS unit. This is neither a cryptocurrency nor a stable coin. So if I had to give concise definition, it would be a resilient reserve of value backed by a structure of 60% gold and 40% diversified BRICS currencies. Now, this is a major appeal for the Global South, which is to be launched early next year, okay? On the Cardano blockchain that uses a digital currency, ADA. So let that sink in for a second. The BRICS unit is going to launch next year on Cardano's blockchain that uses a digital currency, ADA. So, U.S. stablecoins, they essentially perpetrate the U.S. dollar dominance, and they're aiming firepower directly against possible future digital currencies offered by BRICS. The unit itself is the stark opposite. It's attempting to offer a reliable digital monetary tool for the fast advancing multipolar world, if you're paying attention between the entire ecosystem and the entire chessboard, what's happening. I always tell you, you got to have the mechanics, you got to have a plan, you got to do your research, you got to do your research. This is an evolution itself, trying to bridge fiat and the crypto worlds in this post-Bretton Woods economy. But of course, this is going to be fought tooth and nail, and it's going to face enormous challenges. But if you had to ask me, right, in my view, and I got off a conference call for 2 hours just now before coming on right here with you guys, in my view, the unit is perhaps the most thoroughly fleshed out de-dollarization proposal in cross-border transactions space for BRICS. So now when you come back out and see what I'm seeing, see what I'm looking at where we're going. I'm looking at the battlefield financially, the lines driven. I'm looking at the trenches left, trenches right, no man's land in between. I'm looking at what technologies are going to be employed to go futurely. The Black Swan event is happening right now in front of everyone's eyes, unfortunately, right? And who knows if we'll have that brick thrown into the water to have that ripple event or when that's going to come, whatnot. But believe me, people are picking sides right now, and they are actually, they make their thoughts praised. I learned on Wall Street, you don't ever throw mud on anybody. Ever. You just don't do that. But you can see why people have the views they have by what they're backing and what they're not backing, right? So if the unit is going to be launched next year on the Cardano blockchain, let that sink in for a second. What does that tell you, right? We're going to go over all of this in much more videos about the unit and everything about how I see the world and what I look at. Whether you care or not, obviously you care because you're here. So I'm going to show you how I look at this map. I've spent a lifetime going into seriously austere regions and writing geological surveys, finding a way for my benefactors and anyone who has conscripted us or anyone who has contracted us to work in any form to get them the results they were looking for. No questions asked, okay? So to me, I want you to see how I see this. And this is what I was taught on the floor of the New York Mercantile Exchange by generations of floor traders, okay, before there were computers. So I'm going to reel this in right now. I watched the arguments in the upper echelons of management at the Mercantile Exchange for them to go to digital and no floor. I remember the arguments between people having it, where it would go, what not. But the one big thing I'm going to tell you, it's always about control. If we can see the trenches, we can see the map, we can see no man's land, we can see where everyone is on this chessboard, we'll know where we're going, ladies and gentlemen. So let's talk for a second about the reverse carry trade and oversold XRP. Now let's talk about this, okay? Particularly in Japan and how it impacts XRP. If you're not familiar, a reverse carry trade happens when investors unwind massive positions borrowed in one currency and invested elsewhere. Historically, these unwindings can create liquidity stress globally, move capital faster than anyone expects. Here's where XRP shines, ladies and gentlemen. It's increasingly used as a bridge asset for institutional liquidity, meaning these flows could potentially influence its price. Many traders have noticed XRP is down about 50% from its last high. Technical indicators show historic oversold levels, similar to previous periods that triggered 130% and even a 600% upward reversal, ladies and gentlemen. Think about those numbers for a second. Think about XRP like a gladiator in the final round of a championship fight, bruised, beaten, but ready for a huge comeback. Markets anticipate these moves. Institutions have been adjusting months before retail noticed. It's like sailors spotting storm clouds while the town below still enjoys the sun. But by the time everyone realizes, the market has already partially reacted. The Black Swan signal flashing beneath the surface. Let's talk about this for a second. There's liquidity pressure building, a stealth Black Swan. Not random, just mostly invisible to the public. This isn't one event. It's a cluster of stress signals. Weakened bond markets, drops in global liquidity, indexes, rising fund costs for institutions, shortened finance windows. Alone, none are catastrophic. Together, well, they create a rapid liquidity vacuum, not a crash, but a sudden snap. Snap. Assets affected first are those used for collateral, cross-border transfers, short-term settlement, or intraday liquidity movement. XRP fits this perfectly. It's like a fireman with the fastest hose rushing to save a burning city. The biggest misconception about Black Swan events. Many people think a Black Swan is unpredictable. This is not true. Markets rarely move without warning. Liquidity cracks appear first, ladies and gentlemen, like tremors before an earthquake. History parallels, everybody knows I love history. 2008 Lehman collapse. March 2020 Treasury liquidity squeeze. The fall of Athens 404 BC. Slow economic collapse before the final blow. XRP is oversold. The shock may already be halfway through, and fear has largely been priced in. So, you're asking me, could XRP drop again? Sure, one more sharp downward move is possible if liquidity tightens, but think of the market like a punching bag. First hits sting, middle hits hurt, and final hits barely registers. XRP might already be at a punch number 9. Sometimes markets rebound the same day. A scary headline breaks because fear was priced in long before retail reacted, like London recovering after the Great Fire of 1666. The hidden reason XRP might be closer to a reversal than a collapse. Well, ladies and gentlemen, liquidity assets behave differently during stress. Assets with fast settlement, lower transfer friction, cheap global movement, strong institutional rails don't just fall. They get used more. Think of it like boats navigating a flooded river. When the flood rises, the fastest boats deliver the goods safely. XRP is that fast boat. How much of the Black Swan is already priced in, you might ask? Fear assumes a sudden collapse, but data says otherwise. Institutional flows reduce risk for months. Funding markets adjusted. Liquidity pools reiterated. XRP dominance increased. Oversold indicators historic retail sentiment low. Market drop hardest at the beginning of panic, not the end, ladies and gentlemen. Here's just a few examples. 1929 crash. 1987 Black Monday. March 2020 liquidity squeeze. XRP's chart suggests we're far closer to the end of the fear cycle than the beginning. So 5 to 10 years from now, well, none of this will matter because I always say long-term view, have a plan, the mechanics, long-term view. If you have a long-term view, you're not looking at daily price fluctuations and daily red candles. You're thinking about where I'm going to be 5 to 10 years from now, okay? Short-term panic doesn't destroy strong assets, ladies and gentlemen. Let me give you some examples. Apple 2008, Amazon.com, Nvidia 2020, Tesla 2018. XRP is entering a phase where payment corridors are expanding, liquidity use cases are increasing, institutional rails are going live, stablecoin integration are arriving, global settlement optimization is accelerating. In 2030, people won't be talking about this Black Swan. They'll talk about how XRP became a core settlement utility. Here's my final thoughts, what XRP holders might understand. Is there a Black Swan signal in the global liquidity stream? Yes. And ignoring it could be irresponsible. Could XRP drop again? Absolutely. Markets under liquidity stress can always get shaken. Has the market already priced in most of the fear? Most likely, yes, ladies and gentlemen. Is this the end of XRP? Not even close, folks. Will any of this matter in 5 to 10 years, you might ask? No. Fundamentals matter the most. The plan, the map, where we're going. Black swans don't destroy strong assets. XRP is built for liquidity crisis, not destroyed by them. We may be closer to the bottom and closer to an upward reversal than most people realize. I always go back to what I learned in the Mercantile Exchange and on the floor and working for all of these people, because people were extremely nice to me because of who my family were. So I got to learn the mechanics of the actual exchanges, how commodities move, why. This is what I learned, okay? So I got to see, A, where this was coming from and why, and B, how actual speculators and floor traders and locals and scalpers take advantage of this, okay? So when you learn how the Mercantile Exchange itself functions, you get a very good understanding. This gives me the vantage point that most people are simply not going to have. And I'm not throwing mud at anybody, because when you work for the exchange, you see what actually goes on through their eyes. Most people will never, ever see this vantage point, okay? They're not going to see it. That is how I have lived my whole life and continue to in finance. That is why the people that retain myself and my organization, that is the one thing they want. That's the secret sauce. They're not looking for some hotshot talking person who doesn't really see why the world is being built. They want an architect. They want someone who is an intern 30 years ago seeing where this was. Because if you know where things are being built and why, you have a bridge understanding of where we're going. You have your mission statement. You also have the tools. You have the tradecraft. And you have the experience. So to me, I look at the most austere region, and I've gone everywhere writing geological surveys into places that God has forgotten and God has forsaken, and the foundations of heaven tremble, okay? That it's just been forgotten, right? Maybe someone will see a place like this on some Netflix special or something else, right? But I worked there, lived there, saw everything. And in those austere regions, we went in without any electronic devices because we were competing against others who were in that same region writing same geological surveys for other benefactors, and we knew what was at stake, okay? We knew what was at stake. Ladies and gentlemen, the biggest austere region that we are in today is what I'm looking at you right now, the blockchain. the computer world. And let me tell you, I don't want to use people's names because I'm not dropping mud on anybody. I won't do that, okay? You don't throw mud on people because they have a different opinion. We're all sitting at the lunch table in the lunchroom. Maybe I'm going to go sit at a different lunch table than him, but we're in the same lunch cafeteria. So you're not going to insult somebody, because once you insult somebody, there's no going back, okay? My point being is this. I'm going to try to break down as we go forward in all these videos about how I see the world and why. And this was bred into me starting at 15 years old from when that trader, Lucky, who I wrote about in some of the comment section. I read all the comments, right? And I can see the 300 to 400 hardcore people that comment day in, day out. And I truly thank all of you. I am here for you to show you this, right? Okay. Well, I went from getting hit in the head with cards, eating tuna fish sandwiches, reading Dungeon Dragon books and, Lord of the Rings, to focusing just on finance and commodities, which is my life's work. Okay. This is all I do. And I love it. And I'm going to show you what was shown to me, this tradecraft, to see where the world is going and why I look at this. So to sum this up, to me, what I would say, what I'm talking about, the Black Swan event, is the lineup between the U.S. stablecoins and the BRICS unit. This is it. And I hope other people and other YouTube influencers pick up on this and they start putting out content, because they got a bigger reach. Because I'm not trying to reach the world. I'm trying to reach you. Because if you're here with me, then you found me. And that's the way that is. And I'm going to show you everything I know. And unfortunately, I can't show the world, because then it won't be the secret sauce anymore. So I'm happy you're here with me. But that's the Swan event happening. So when you look at these people throwing garbage and trash on everyone else, it's because their interests are tied to a different benefactor. And when that benefactor is going to flex against other benefactors, that's where you got to see. And that's why you got to be able to go through no man's land between the trenches and be able to see and operate on the fly. Because our intelligence is going to change right away. And there's nobody coming to save you, because what you put at stake is your hard-earned capital, your money for a better future. So I'm going to be your guide, and I'm going to show you everything I learned as we walk through this financial combat landscape and theater every single day. And by the end of this, I hope you're smiling. I hope that you can understand why you're in this. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope today's breakdown gave you a clear understanding of what's happening behind the scenes and what this so-called Black Swan could mean for XRP. If you found this valuable, please like this video, drop a comment, and subscribe. It generally helps the channel reach more people who need this information. I want you to have a great Sunday. And always, I need you to stay emotionless. No emotion here, okay? And I need you to become Gucci with me, and having no emotions means you're Gucci, that you have a plan. Because if you don't have a plan, you're not going to be Gucci. It's not going to be good. As always, ladies and gentlemen, this content is for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be taken as financial advice. Always do your own research and consult a licensed financial advisor before making investment decisions. Remember, the game is changing, and those who understand it first will benefit most. Make sure you're on the right side of it. You have two choices. You can be like the crowd, reacting after the move, rationalizing why they missed it, telling themselves they'll never let it happen again, or you can be the one who saw behind the curtain, the one who understood the infrastructure shift. The one who positioned early, not randomly, but intentionally. Because some moments in history are loud, but the ones that change everything are quiet, right up until the moment they're not. And this is one of those moments. Do not blink, because the world is distracting you with noise, while XRP continues developing behind the scenes and building momentum in the broader digital asset landscape. Stay sharp, stay informed, accumulate knowledge. Your move now will be remembered. This is not the end of the story. This is just the beginning. This opened your eyes. Smash that like button, ring the bell, and leave a comment with your thoughts. Turn on notifications, and most importantly, subscribe to the Crypto Republic. We break down the major global banking trends shaping digital assets today, giving you context, clarity, and research you can use. Don't just watch it happen. Stay informed, stay ahead, stay in the Republic.